I mean, I've had a lot of people from the industry and all other industries as well, the Tamil and Telugu and Hindi, all these industries also. Even if they didn't fully understand the song, they're really vibing with it. And the fun fact is one of the best parts is whenever I step out now, I have all auto drivers and everybody coming up to me and wanting to take pictures and all that. So I was like,
actually, one interesting aspect is that for Bangalore Times, the only song we have of Bangalore Times is by you.
Right. So, yes, that's absolutely one of the best times for you to really be able to express yourself creatively and for you to be able to directly connect with an audience than ever before.
Hi everyone, this is Kavya Christopher from Bangalore Times. I'm so happy today to be here at Brewpark, and with us today we have Brodha V. Pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, let's start off. Brodha V has come out with his first, latest single. It's a very catchy tune, and it's already hit about 3.5 million, I think, views. Yeah. That's wonderful, and it's, I think, the fastest for a Kannada song.
Could be.
Possibly.
Possibly, yes.
Okay, will you tell us a little bit about this song?
Yeah.
And what went into it?
So, I wanted to make a song around this phrase called Hengaite Maige, and it's a very popular phrase in Kannada, as we all know. And it's something that most people bring it up when you're about to pick a fight, when you're almost in a confrontational situation. And I just wanted to use that in a way where I wanted to say it in such a way that I'm confident about where I am in life, so I don't need to pick fights. But what about you? How are you feeling about where I am? So I just want to make a chill, a song about that same phrase, give it a new, different touch to it, take it all laid back, that sort of a feel. And I'm glad that a song which could have been very confrontational and gangster, turned out to be as chill, and people are loving it and people are accepting it, and they're really on my side with it.
Tell us about the feedback that you've got. Anything that comes to your mind? Anything different apart from the fact that it is cool? Of course it is.
Yes, I mean, I've had a lot of people from the industry and all other industries as well, the Tamil and Telugu and Hindi, all these industries also. Even if they didn't fully understand the song, they're really vibing with it. And the fun fact is one of the best parts is whenever I step out now, I have all auto drivers and everybody coming up to me and wanting to take pictures and all of that. So I was I'm glad I'm able to connect to a very wide range of audience.
Okay, but auto drivers reminds me, they kind of actually connect with anything that is very catchy and based on phrases like this. This would not have been the first time.
I did I mean, luckily for me, I've done 3 Kannada songs.
Yes.
The first one was Marikannu, which is again my take on the very popular Marikannu by Upendra sir, and the second one was a song called Aram, again, which is a very easy phrase that everybody recognizes. And somehow for some reason it has always worked out for me that I go with phrases in Kannada that are very relatable.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess it's a me thing, and because of which a lot of people kind of relate to it automatically.
Okay. So, how many more such phrases are coming up?
I don't know. I mean, I'll probably plan them out. I'll plan them out in such a way that.
Okay. And what goes into the video? There are so many people who are part of this video, especially.
Right.
What is the thought process that you work with for any video, starting with this?
So for this song, we right from the beginning, we thought we should do something very chill, something very relaxed and laid back and fun. And as you can see in the music video as well, it's just me chilling, vibing, not putting in as much effort, physically onto the camera and all of that. And it was pretty cool of me, pretty cool of all the other people like Danish and Raghu Weinstores and Wikipedia, Ditto, Biju, who are big names in the Kannada space, content creation and music space. And I just hit him up and I was like, I've got a song like this, and I just want you to say just this much. And everybody was on board immediately, and that kind of added so much more value to the video as well. So.
That shows a lot of camaraderie.
Yes,
right?
Yes. So, it's a very small scene over here, and it's a booming scene. It's a growing scene. So I guess everybody is in that phase where everybody wants to collaborate with each other.
Right.
So yeah, I think it works out really well for a small scene to boom even more. When more and more people come together to collaborate.
There's no competition that way.
I mean, I'm sure, there is competition, in a way where, I guess everybody wants the bigger piece of the cake, I suppose. But like, everybody is like, this is Bangalore, like, it's a very chill, laid back city. Everybody is friends with everybody in a way, and everybody gets along really well. Like, the sense of competitiveness, like, really just pushes one to get better and be better, but not to a point like, where you hate on somebody and you're like, I want to like push him down, keep him down. So everybody is really into uplifting one another, but also like, the competitiveness is just to make sure you're ahead of the curve.
Right. No negative at all.
I mean, hopefully not. Hopefully not. I'm sure, like, there is some negativity, but like nothing around me. So that's good.
That's good. All right. Any of the other videos you would want to talk about? I mean, there obviously is a lot of effort that goes into planning. First of all, you have your song, first your lyrics, and then the music and the beat, and then apart from the rap aspect of it, there has to be some sort of a tune. It's not just. I mean, I think you add a little more of. I think classical
yes,
as well. So, what goes into the entire process?
I mean, since I've like, pretty much grown up all my life, like, listening to devotional classical music, and like, I've had that folk touch and all of that, like while I was growing up itself, even with film music and all of that stuff. And ever since I discovered hip hop, I just and when I started making music and composing music as well, I wanted to give it my own touch and my own flavor, where like, I represent my people and like, where I come from. And which is one of the reasons why I always try to integrate some kind of Indian elements into my music, either musically or lyrically or something, like, where, or in the form of a video as well. I try to put some Indian touch so that like it's relatable to our people, and at least like, in a way that makes me feel a little more authentic as well. So once the song is like, once the song is composed, the beat is made, and the recording is done, like once you're writing and everything, I think when it comes to the video side of things, that's another like, interesting side of things that I've picked up off late. I mean, which does take a lot of my time because I'm one guy doing a lot of things, but I guess video direction and like, even direction in general is something I've always had a passion for and interest in, like ever since I was a kid. And finally now I'm getting to do it. So it basically, once the song is done, like, me and my team of people, we sit together and we're like, okay, what is it that we can do? What is the most ridiculous thing that we can do with this, like concept wise? And then we kind of like, get into more realistic terms, like, okay, what is possible and what is not. And it's basically throwing ideas first, like, against the wall and see what sticks and what doesn't.
What is the thought there? As in, is it the most something that really catches attention completely, or is it something? Is there a word that you work with? It has to be out of the box, definitely, probably. But is there a word you work with?
I feel like, the only thing I go for is like, I just wanted to be interesting enough for me to watch it again and again. Because like, different songs can have different concepts, music video wise. Like, one can have like a story to it. One can just be visually engaging. One can just have a dance sequence. One can just be performing to the camera. So for me, it's just that, okay, fine. Like, if you're going with a particular song, you can approach any song with any of these, in any of these creative directions. For me, it's just that, like, I go with the idea where I kind of see myself watching it over and over again.
And you were talking about childhood and where you started with this interest to be your interest in hip hop, or maybe even in direction. You went to Cottons, right?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Okay, and academics would have been like a focus there.
Yes. Yeah.
How was it to? Were you like this problem child with different interests there, especially considering at that time, I think a lot of focus would have been on academics.
I mean, I think till about I think I was in school, I think it was the norm for everybody to focus on studies, and we were like always focusing on studies because we didn't know much at that point. Although like I was very inclined towards sports and other creative like things, I just couldn't point to one certain thing and be like, oh, this is what I want to do. At that point, I was still very confused. I was a fairly good student as well till I was in school. And after I finished school is when I kind of started getting into a lot of other avenues, and I just wanted to explore options. And that's exactly when I think music started happening, because I would always write. I would always be in sports or something of that stuff. And I didn't really see myself doing a 9 to 5 because I kind of felt like it wasn't the thing for me, and I just felt like I needed to do things that make me happy when it makes me happy. And again, like, when I don't feel like working, I don't want to work. I wanted to have, like, that full control over what is it that I do and what I don't. And I eventually, like, I mean, I did try, like, writing. I wanted to, like, get into movies at one point. I wanted to, like, write scripts and direct and all of that stuff. But as in when I started writing more, I just realized that I could actually rap and rhyme things as well. But I was always into music. I was like, I grew up with a lot of music, and like, I was a big fan of hip hop from ever since I was a kid. But I think initially I didn't know, like, if I could become a rapper per se, because there was no scene such as that in Bangalore.
Right.
Even in India for that matter, there was no rap culture. There was no hip hop underground scenes, nothing. It was predominantly only rock and metal at that point.
Right.
So, yeah, when I started writing, and I figured I could, like, probably put, like, rhymes together, and I was able to flow on a beat. I had a sense of rhythm and all of that. And then that is when I thought I'll give it a shot. I'll probably, like, record my vocals and see how I sound, how it goes. And that's how I eventually slowly got into music.
There must have been some moment when you said, okay, whatever I've been working on is kind of paying off.
Yeah.
When was that? What was that recognition that came through?
I think in my earlier days, when I was making a lot of demos, when I used to release music for free on the internet, pretty much, like, we'd just download beats off of the internet and just perform. I mean, record over them and, like, put it out on the internet so it was a very small community of underground rappers then. So we used to just, like, record and put it out there just for us to hype each other up. And for us to know that, okay, fine, we can do this, so you can also go do this. We need to cypher more. We need to meet more often, freestyle, all of that kind of stuff. And we slowly started getting, like, a couple of shows here and there. I mean, again, like, I wouldn't say they all, like, were paying gigs or anything. We'd get, like, 5 or 10 minute slots here and there to just come and freestyle, MC, like, hype the crowd up, drop a couple rhymes and get out. Even if it was, like, I don't know, an event, a corporate event, or, like, a small club or whatever. And I think at that point, like, a lot of articles started coming out in newspapers and all that. Okay, there are these rap groups and everything. And seeing that, I think a lot of music directors hit me up for writing for movies and ads and jingles and stuff. And that's where I slowly started getting paid. And that's when I was like, okay, cool, I can, like, probably make a career out of this. And if I keep sticking at this, then probably the path is only upward.
Right. That's interesting. Actually, one interesting aspect is that for Bangalore Times, the only song we have of Bangalore Times is by you.
Right. Yes, that was a couple of years ago, right? Yes.
We had a whole campaign, and
yes.
it's a really trippy song. It was quite cool.
Right.
And we again had many people, faces from Bangalore, who were part of the video as well.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so going back to music as opposed to rapping.
Right.
You were writing stories, or you were writing songs, or for music?
I think when do you, like,
when you started, or when you initially said you were writing?
I used to, like, basically write, like, my own short stories and stuff like that. I used to probably, like, write parodies of movies I'd watched and things like that. I don't know, probably in today's time that would lead you to, like, I don't know, becoming a comic, or, like, writing scripts for, like, ads and I don't know, OTT series or something, I don't know. But, like, that's how it started for me. And then I was like, okay, why, like, write so much when I can just break these down into, like, 4 little stories and, like, turn them into raps.
Okay.
And that's
a lot of hustling.
Yeah.
Initially.
Yep.
Right. Any advice you have to people? I mean, hustle culture is the big thing today.
Right.
Especially with social media. The reach that people have,
Correct.
And anybody and anywhere can become something, depending on what they have. So how do you what is the advice? What are the things that you would tell people today, as opposed to based on your experience back then?
Right. I mean, I think the messaging is the same, like, be it today or yesterday or tomorrow. I think you gotta, like, work hard. You gotta like love what you do, be passionate about what you do, and always be very confident in the work that you put out, and like believe in yourself, and like just be the biggest fans of what you do. Like
Biggest fans of what
be the biggest fan of what it is that you do. I mean, if you don't like your stuff, and if you are not a fan of your own work,
Right.
it kind of, that energy kind of exudes, and people can see it, and people will not be, I mean, you can have self-doubt and all of those things, but you can't like just live in doubt and expect to be an artist. And creative people are like supposed to be a little bit of like egoistic at times. You're supposed to like own that pride, like own that, like you create something that most people can't, and like own that confidence, and through that, like good, more creative things come out.
Yeah, that is what I agree with that. Yeah, they are also very moody, and also the one aspect about creative people, I don't think most of them get this idea of creating as well as marketing correctly.
Right.
How does that work for you?
It's art today is like a business. I mean, it's not the Renaissance era and stuff.
We have to understand that clearly. Yeah.
It's like any other business or any other field. You gotta do something and get paid, and something has to like put food in your plate. So you gotta like understand the music business to be a part of the music industry. Business is a very big part of it. And
how did you learn about it, or were you already like inclined to
I think it was all trial and error, and I think like for me, it started off at a time where there was no scene per se, so everything I did was a first.
Is a challenge. Yes.
So anytime like I probably even got like 10,000 views, that was a big win for me. Like compared to like today, like or maybe like I don't know, maybe like if it were a movie song back in the time, a 10,000 view like video would like be considered a flop. But for me, it's a great thing because there was no such thing as a hip hop scene. So small little milestones like felt like a big win for me. And the fact that I was even able to achieve this, like just gave me more ideas to take them and make it bigger and be able to scale them higher.
There are a lot of people so we run this we have this property called Fresh Face, right?
Right.
A lot of college students do rap.
Right.
That is their talent, or even if it is rapping, dancing. Dancing is a big thing, of course, and there's also beatboxing. These are like skills that are very difficult even for judges that way to understand and gauge that way.
I was actually like, I don't know, maybe this is 2008 or 9. Fresh Face was called Mr. and Miss Bangalore Times, if I'm not wrong, before that. So I was like an MC around that time for that event. Like, it was like 25-30 days across so many colleges.
Yes, so many colleges.
Yeah, so I was there. Like, we used to have an afternoon session and an evening session in different colleges. I was like one of the MCs, and I used to like perform then as well. Like after MCing, I used to perform like for 5 minutes and stuff.
Nice.
So it's like full
circle. Yeah, so there is that much talent, and each one of them, I think, needs to be told that there are opportunities out there.
Right.
So, the advice you would give for people who are trying to prove themselves again?
I mean, just put out content. Like the internet is a free market for everybody today. I mean, like anybody and everybody has access to all kinds of social media right now. Just put your content out there and see like what sticks, who like comes to buy your content. And keep at it, and like eventually it'll work out. I mean, the first step towards being successful eventually is to try, and you got to start like by trying. Put your content out there, and we'll see like what works and what doesn't.
You were part of a team before, and then
Yes.
you cut out and started off on your own.
Yeah.
Is it easier to work with a team or on your own? I mean, there is no.
It depends, like, if you're working with a team, like, which is creatively all inclined, I mean, everybody's inclined, like, creatively towards one goal, then it's, of course, easier because, like, you're splitting the work among so many people. But it's also a problem when, like, you're splitting the work and nobody gets it, and everybody is on their own different path and everybody wants to do different things. That's a different thing altogether. So, it depends, like, person to person. I mean, if we're creatively inclined, a team works. If you're not, like, being individual is the best. It's up to you, I suppose.
Very few teams like that, at least in the music business, have really stuck on for this long, right? Can you think of anyone?
I mean, there are bands like that still play together. Like if you think about it,
We have dominant.
yeah, so many like bands are there. I mean, yeah, I guess
it's difficult.
I think it's different. Like when it comes to rap music sometimes because both of them are pretty much rappers. You do the exact same thing. And eventually you kind of branch out because you have different kinds of stories to tell and the other person has different kinds of stories to tell. And maybe like, you grow as like artists individually, that you being a part of the crew doesn't make any sense anymore because the sound of the crew is very different from your own individual stories. Whereas when it comes to a band, like, one person's a guitarist, one person's a drummer, and one person's a vocalist.
Something.
Yeah, everybody's like, bringing in something like, that the other person pretty much can't. So you need each other. Whereas like, with rap music, like, when you're a storyteller yourself, all you need is like, your own voice and a mic.
So there's this, backstory that blues comes from a certain emotion back then.
Right.
What is the story with rap and how does that relate to you?
Rap pretty much like, I think comes from a place of a socio-political, like, struggle with also like the class of people that like, they were like, pretty much not allowed to step out and come forward and like, have them like, use this art form as a voice in order to express their like, stories which weren't being heard. And rap music especially like, comes from a time where like, especially in black neighborhoods and stuff, like they didn't have instruments, they didn't like, their schools, none of their like, institutions had like, instruments and stuff because of like, poor budgeting and all of that. So people used to get like, they used to get these DJs used to go like, to stores and get like, vinyls, and they used to sample music and people used to rap on top of that. So all people had like, at a point were like, their words and rap. And that's the strong point, like, with rap music in general. It's your words, it's your lyrics at the end of the day. So, yeah, for me, like, I think like, I've always had a story to tell. And my easiest form of expression is using my words. So I think it just like, it's like a match made in heaven. Yeah, it just happened. Yeah.
Lovely. Okay. And what are the things that, I mean, locally, how they use in singing in like Kannada, Tamil, Hindi?
Yes.
Malayalam?
Yeah.
All of South, Telugu?
Telugu, I'm yet to.
Okay.
I'll probably do that as well.
Okay. How, I mean, you've learned the language, all these languages?
I speak a couple of them. Okay. The others, like, I sit with people and like, I kind of understand it, but not well enough to like, be able to hold a conversation. But like, I sit with people and like, put these ideas together in especially languages that I'm like, not very, very fluent in. And it's mainly about like, if I were to make a certain song in a certain language, it's because that particular theme works really well within that community or in that geography. So I feel like, there's a sound and a tonality and a theme like, that sits really well with certain regions. And I don't want to lose out on that, especially when the idea is there and not to be able to put it out because I'm not fluent in a certain language. I might as well put these ideas out. So that's the idea behind why I'd like to do multi.
And there is a good connect with people who speak that language.
Yes.
Do you consciously go out to connect with different people of different languages?
If there is an idea, yes. If there is an idea and I want to like, put it out, I go the extra mile to make that happen. Not like, I don't force myself to be like, today I need to like, make a song for this particular state or this like, region and work backward. If I have an idea and something just naturally happens, then I make sure it gets done.
And what goes into, I mean, today like a rapper,
right,
a performer like you,
right,
is the face.
Right.
Basically, you don't need another person coming into, you have other people who have collaborated with you, but you don't really, like say for instance, another popular song that is doing the rounds now, Mayavi, with Sonu Nigam and Sanjay Hegde.
Right.
It is not it is not a model, it's not an actor, it's not a any popular face. It is the singer.
Right.
these are the singers, this is their song, and they are out there,
Correct.
as the face, and it is
Correct.
as popular as any other,
True.
would be. And the same goes for you.
Yes.
It's an interesting change
Right.
in the whole, music
Right.
scene. In terms of performance, how has the graph grown, and what do you see? What are the changes that you see?
One point, obviously, in our lives, for you to be a successful singer, you had to be a playback singer or a very niche classical singer and folk singer or something like that. And with playback singers, you would get your recognition when there's a big actor mouthing your words, and that's the only way you got your break. And especially me being a rap artist, I knew that was not going to happen in movies because rap isn't mainstream, and not every song needs rap vocals in it, and not every movie is going to have a rap song. So my scope of work in the film industry is already very limited. So I knew for a fact that okay, if I had to be recognizable and if I had to be known, I had to put my face out there. I had to make my own music videos, and I had to connect with my own fan base and create one rather. So I kind of work with this mentality that you know just like an actor becomes a superstar by being seen over and over again by doing movies, ads, and everything. I need to do the exact same thing with music, but instead of TV, probably use YouTube and all the free social media platforms that I have. And I think that's what all independent musicians eventually start doing now, to a point where everybody's a fan of music, everybody's a fan of movies as well. But people have become a lot smarter now because everything is accessible. They know when to pick what. If they want to listen to music, they want to listen to an artist, they know who to look up, which kind of music they like, and all of that. The audience doesn't need to be fed anything anymore.
Right.
They are capable of choosing what they like or their own, and they can create their own. I mean, they can have their own superstars, their own favorite artists, and you could be from any field of entertainment.
So that's like the best time to be out
Yeah,
there.
this is absolutely one of the best times for you to really be able to express yourself creatively, and for you to be able to directly connect with an audience
Right.
than ever before.
Can you tell us a little more about what you're planning, what you're working on?
I'm working on a lot of new music, and there's already a lot that's already ready, which is finishing them up, wrapping the shoots and all of that. I want to keep dropping a lot more music, and I have a lot more newer ones being recorded as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of live shows.
Is this a conscious decision to bring in more work?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like I took some time out, in between to, kind of refigure my own sound out and, what direction I was headed in sonically.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I have, a much better understanding and all the clarity that I need, I'm it's easy, for me. It's the only time, where you're held back is when you're creatively stuck in a different place, and you're I don't know what to do next. But now that the clarity is there, and it's just a matter of, okay, fine, this beat is ready. Let's go write, let's go record, let's put things out.
That would happen to any creative person again, right? This mind block.
Yeah.
How does one come over it? Do you have to look for inspiration or just take a break or meditate?
I don't know, man. I really wish I knew, because that's the one thing, every artist, is trying to, find the answer to. But yeah, I think, these writer's block always happen. And writer's block is something, where it's not that you can't write at all. You can always write something. You can always create something. It's just that you're not happy with it. You're not satisfied with it. And you tell yourself that, okay, this isn't good enough. But yeah, I think as every artist would say, you want to put your music out only when it feels good to you, that you've done a good job.
Good to you. That is also another judgment that you're making yourself. But sometimes people feel that what they're doing is great, but it might not be. Then
that is really that I don't think it matters, because at the end of the day, if you yourself aren't the first person who's happy with your work, then you're gonna be unsatisfied anyway. Even if you didn't make a ton load of money and you didn't like what you did, I'm sure deep down you as an artist would be but it wasn't my best work anyway. But yeah, I think the first step is you being happy towards the art that you create.
So would you say India is doing well in terms of music and talents like this?
India is definitely doing great because there are so many artists, so many people that are getting into music, that have been doing music.
What is the biggest challenge today?
I think the biggest challenge right now is for more and more people to be more accepting of art and music, especially within households, because you remember how some time ago, till about some time ago, parents and your families would look at people who do arts as not a great thing, you gotta do the science and the business, the commerce, and all of that stuff. Versus now if you look at it, everybody's a content creator, everybody's an artist, and these are the guys that actually make good money as well. So there's good scope for income. So there's more need and necessity for this, and more people are creatively inclined as well. So I guess it's time for everybody to open up and be a little more understanding about what arts actually is.
One line from maybe your next new song.
My lines keep changing till the last minute till I'm in the studio.
Okay, one line, anything.
I'll probably
it may change also.
I'll just probably give it to you from my current song itself. ನಾನು ರ್ಯಾಪ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಬೀಜ ಬಿತ್ತ ರೈತ ಅಣ್ಣನ ಕೈಯಿಂದ ತಿಂದ ಹೈಕ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ಹಾಗೂ ಶೋಸ್ ನ ತಂದಿಟ್ಟು ಇಡೀ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ಗೆ ಬೆಲೆ ನನ್ನಿಂದಾನೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದು ಸುಟ್ ಹೋಗತ್ ಮೈಕ್ ಬೆಂಕಿ ನನ್ನ ಆಲೋಚನೆಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಹುಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೆ ಇನ್ಸೈಡ್ ನವ್ವೇನು ಬೆಸ್ಕಾಮು ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಲೈಟ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ನನಗೆ ಇರೋದೀಗ ನಾನೊಬ್ನೇ ಕರೆಂಟು. So
Lovely.
Thank you.
Just a few more things. Who are the rap artists you look up?
I am a big fan of the early to mid 90s, hip hop. The golden era of hip hop, as most people would say. Some of my favorite artists are Rakim, Nas, Tupac. I'd also put in Eminem over there, just because he's one of the best writers there is. Yeah, lot
And
of
in India,
other artists.
since the first thing that comes to mind is Gully Boy.
Right. In India, I think everybody is pretty great. Anybody who's contributing to the scene has done a fantastic job. I think I think the most popular names are the ones that everybody's going to go towards, because these are the ones who have contributed the most in a way to the growth of the scene. But I guess in India we're at least another 10 to 15 years away before we start talking about the greats and who's the best and all that. I think there's more content and more a bigger catalog that needs to get out there before we know for sure. Yeah.
Cool. Super. I want one more thing. Sorry.
Right.
Your fashion sense.
All right.
Is that how did you work on something like this? I need to look a certain way to be in this certain image or create this entire image.
I honestly I just wear what I like, what I'm most comfortable in, and I mean I like wearing hoodies and stuff like that, and I don't know, it's probably stuff that I in a way subconsciously learned from watching other rappers, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I think what is super comfortable for me. I mean, I love wearing tracks and stuff like that. You've made it when you can show up to work in track pants. So
Right. And what is the biggest compliment you've received from a fan or from somebody you have admired?
I don't know, man. A lot of I'm just generally just very grateful to everybody who's shown me or any kind of even the most basic kind of support, and who's even shared my music, who's made the effort to learn a song in a language that they probably don't understand. The small little things are really they it makes you feel good. So yeah, I'm just grateful for everybody.
You off, then?
Huh?
Anything that pisses you off?
Oh yeah, a lot of things piss me off too.
What is the last thing?
I don't know. I mean,
You want to talk about it?
Nah, it's fine.
Right, cool. So great. We look forward to a lot more work from you.
Thank you so much.
It's lovely speaking with you.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.